Hello and welcome to this episode of the GrowVC Everyone Funding Startups podcast. With all the modern technological advances and the opportunities presented by the modern internet, the business landscape is truly shifting beneath our feet. And this change trickles all the way down to funding, how startups acquire that funding, and how entrepreneurs view and approach the issues of acquiring funding. And this is what we're discussing today in our episode called Fresh Breeze in Funding. And I'm your host Marcus, and I'm here with GrowVC founders Jouko and Valto, as well as our very special guest Antti Akonniemi. So Antti, would you introduce yourself to our audience?
Thanks and hi to all. I'm the CEO of Kisko Labs and Kisko Ventures. We've been in business for like 3 years. Before that, I did a consultancy jobs like in various companies, IBM and so forth, and a couple of smaller startups. Basically, our company, Kisko Labs, transforms our clients' ideas into a reality. And basically, we build kick-ass web services. So we're like technical company in that sense, but we speak also like fluent business language. So we try to also spar the ideas of our customers and so forth. And Kisko Ventures, the other company where I'm the CEO, is like this really small dynamic boutique investor. We mainly focus on web startups, and basically if you don't have the technical team but you have a kick-ass idea, then you should come and talk to us. We just released our first own platform called howshouldwe.com, which is like an innovation platform. But that's just like one little thing that we've been doing, and then I've been talking with I don't know how many startups during this year about their business plans and business models and ideas. But anyway, I enjoy working with startups, and I really enjoy these discussions we've been having with them. So I hope I can give you some insights what the startups are thinking about and how I see the all this funding stuff, where it's going, and what's my opinion about it.
Yes, well, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, and I'm sure it will be very insightful.
No problem.
But this week we're actually not going to have our standard member highlight from the Grow Venture community, since we have a new initiative that's called the Experts Corner, and it's an alternative to our GrowVC Flash. The Experts Corner will appear every other week, and it will sort of alternate with the GrowVC Flash. And in this new newsletter, you can find practical suggestions and relevant insights for startups and entrepreneurs, as well as others, each week from a different expert from the community. So, we can start with our actual topic. Different changes in the business landscape and how they actually affect startups and entrepreneurs. In today's world, there are new choices outside the traditional friends and family or large institutions in funding. So let's start with our guest for today. Antti, how do you view these new possibilities? What do you think are the most interesting alternatives for a startup?
Most interesting one is, of course, to get the funding from the customers. And I think a lot of the startups have been like kind of living in an illusion that, yes, we have a great idea and now we will get the VCs on board and get the money and build this next Facebook. But I think that's in like many ways, that's really bad idea, and that's an illusion. Not that many companies really get like this big funding, or not actually, even less are the next Facebooks or next Googles. So I would really like to concentrate on making the business run, getting the first customers, and then maybe in the later phase, if there's really a need for like big funding, then get the VCs on board and do that stuff later on. But I think, as you said, there's new possibilities, and I think also the investment sizes will go down. So basically, we will need to get more like almost like friends and family, but maybe a bit higher stake investors. And how will you get like, let's say 20 investors in your company? It's kind of hard to do, but I think like your service will be one of those places where this could be possible. And I think it's changing, but I'm still not fond of this like really big VC investment idea that most of the startups still do have.
All right. So getting funding from your customers. Jouko, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely a good idea, and I'm not a big fan of large VC funding either, because I have seen that normally it is the starting point of many problems. I don't say that it is always like that, but it's definitely in that way that customer funding and get money step by step makes sense in many cases. I was actually earlier in this week in Microsoft BizSpark event, actually the European Summit in Paris. And they had also a kind of competition for startup companies that are part of the Microsoft BizSpark. And they were, I think that maybe 15, 20 companies totally. And one thing what I definitely remember, that there were at least two types of companies. There were some companies that actually had used very little money. Let's say that there were some young guys almost directly from university, and they said that the all money what they have used has been their own money. They have now got the beta version out there, some people who are using it, and they would like to get 100,000 money to get it to the next level. And then at the same time, there were some companies that, okay, we have now used 2 million money, and we don't have yet any customers, but this is a really excellent product, and some people have said that this is really interesting, and that now we are looking for another 2 million to get the alpha or beta version, so that we can get 1 or 2 pilot customers or something like that. And I think that they are very different stories, and definitely the first one is much more attractive for me, if I think from investor point of view, so that definitely to get the market attraction as soon as possible, and also really to learn with small money, and then use also other components like now we have in our service, and what we have talked in this week, that to get also some people to do some work and promise equity for some key people and that kind of things. It's also very important learning curve for many entrepreneurs, and in many cases it is not only to get the money, but it is also that if you want to make good money in long run, that what is the valuation of the company, what is your ownership when you make the exit, how much dilution you will have, and that kind of thing. So that I think that also entrepreneurs who really want to make success stories and really want to make also big money, I think that they should also think the dilution and how much they have money in the end, not only that how much they can. Yeah, that's right.
I really hate to see when people start losing their own company to some investors, or then you have this like kind of watered down version of your idea because the investors didn't really get the idea what you're trying to like run, and that's something that I personally fear and don't